Welcome to the True Elegance podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bumia Kikube, also known as Dr. B. Through solo episodes and guest sessions, we delve into the timeless qualities of style, grace, and sophistication, and uncover what makes you truly elegant. So, sit back, relax, and let's get started on this empowering journey of becoming truly elegant. Hello, Elegant Tribe, and welcome to another episode of the True Elegance podcast, where we look at everything that makes you beautiful from the inside out. I'm happy to have in the guest chair today someone who brings over 30 years of experience, both as a leader and as a leadership development consultant, executive coach, and facilitator. She has worked in the private sector across many industries in the US, Asia, and the UK. And she has so many amazing clients that have worked with her, working through many cabinet-level federal agencies. Reina Bach has a master's degree in industrial and organizational psychology. And as a leadership coach, she completed her certification training in Georgetown University and the Center for Creative Leadership. For fun, Reina is a certified French chef, wine, glass, and jewelry artist, creator of Joy in a Box self-care kit for women. She helps her clients to more quickly remove beliefs and paradigms that keep them from living a joyful life. She's super passionate about helping people find and live their best and most joyful life. Join me in welcoming Reina back to the guest chair today.
Hi, Dr. B. It's so great to see you, and it's such a joy to be having this conversation with you today.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And I have my puppy on my lap. So.
Hey, cutie. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So, as I was reading through your bio, I see like a journey from various phases of life, from the corporate world to what you're doing now. And I just want you to, in a nutshell, tell us how that journey evolved over the years.
Oh, gosh. Well, one of the things is that going way back, Dr. B, I wanted to go to chef school right out of high school. And I got the advice to say, oh, but you're so good in math and science. Why don't you go be an engineer? And so I went down that path and realized that I really just, my career was so fluid, and I started off as a computer developer, a programmer years ago. And then I went into insurance, and I was an underwriter. And then I went to sales and Wall Street to teach investment classes. And at some point along the journey, I think it was, I started to help people develop. I started in sales training and teaching people how to sell insurance and investment products. And that was really my first step into the people development world. And so over the years, I've spent time working inside organizations and then also having my own business. And it's always great. I mean, I think one of the things that I really had to accept about myself, and this speaks to your listeners, is who am I really and what do I like to do?
Right.
And realizing that, I really do have an entrepreneurial spirit. I like to go fix things in organizations and then move on.
Okay.
And so yeah, I ended up working in as a marketing manager in insurance, and I was a technical recruiter. I mean, I've done a lot of different things. And I ended up as head of HR for a software company. I started there as a technical recruiter, and then they asked me to take over HR as an employee. And I realized that that was a really great experience for me. It was a growth experience, and I was in my mid-30s. And I realized there was a lot I didn't know about the whole field of HR. So I decided to go back and get a master's degree in industrial and organizational psychology to really help me be a better leader, a better person in an organization, and to really build out my knowledge. So, so that was really fun and interesting. And so really since then, I've been in and out of organizations, but I've had my own business now, and I haven't worked for anybody else for over 20 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, when you make that, when you really, for me, it was accepting who I really am. What's my MO? What brings me joy?
Mm-hmm.
Going in and fixing things, and also being of service to people to help them along their journeys. And so, so that was really, it's been a real journey for me. And
Mm-hmm.
now I love what you do, Dr. B, and you help women really step into their full power, right?
Right, right.
And however they are, and live their best life. And so I'm right there with you. And I love to support women along their journey to really be who they came to be and shine their brightest light. So, and that's
Beautiful.
what I do now. I've been doing leadership and executive coaching and consulting for a long time.
Wow.
So yeah, and it's really fun. And so also I'm starting to integrate work in helping them to access more deeper fulfillment and really mindfulness and presence through their senses. And so that is bringing in some of my background with art and food and wine to really help people find different modalities to be in the moment and
Right.
enjoy the present moment.
Wow. That's really amazing. It's so many beautiful things going on there together.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, and tried some things and they didn't work out so well,
Mm-hmm.
and keep trying and keep moving. So
Yes.
yeah, so
Yes.
that's the fun.
Awesome. Awesome. Some things jump out to me in that brief intro you've provided. And I'm going to start off with that part where, on one hand, we do want to acknowledge when people see our strengths and maybe things we're good at. Maybe not necessarily a strength, but they know that, okay, you're good in math, you're good in speaking or something, then you should do this. And many of us, especially in the maybe mid-age now, between 35 and 55-ish, went through that experience. For example, I too went through the fact that they said, oh, you're good in what? Math, physics. Well, basically, I was good in everything, not to boast. But they're like, you're so smart, you should be a doctor or something. So that was how many of my colleagues in med school ended up there, because somebody thought, oh, you're so smart, you'll be a great doctor. And then we get there, and in our first couple of years, our level of intelligence and smartness was really tested, because we found out it wasn't just about scoring A's and A pluses and B's. It was about the resilience to become a doctor and knowing so much about everything and being virtually everything to everybody, at least at the initial phases, before you now break it down and specialize. So that's one thing I've seen, where sometimes people get pushed into, okay, you're good at this, just go do this. And many of us, without thinking, we just go into it, and then down the road we realize, maybe this is not really for me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, my first job out of school, it couldn't have been more of a misfit. My
Wow.
first job out of school, like I said, was a computer programmer, and I'm an extrovert. And I remember sitting in a room of 100 programmers, big open room, and all you heard was the click of the
Mm-hmm.
keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody talking, and that's all you heard most of the day. And I thought, I'm going to go nuts if I stay here. And I
Right.
got some physical clues where Sunday night I'd start getting a stomach ache,
Wow.
knowing that I was going to go to work the next day.
Mm.
And so it was one of those where I deluded myself into thinking, yes, I'm an engineer, a software programmer. And I really, I listened to other people, and I just kind of went with the flow versus really stopping and listening to myself. And so, you know, for you, it's like you're a person who could do anything, right? And so talented, so gifted. And I think really the message is, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
Wow. I love that. I love that. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
Yeah,
Because
right.
sometimes it might not be the right fit, like you said, or maybe not the right time to be doing it.
Yeah.
Right, right.
I
So,
would say that being a computer programmer, there would never be a right time for me. Not my thing. Yeah. And
yeah,
that's okay.
so, with these conversations, those are some of the things we bring out in helping women, especially, to take a step back and think deeper, for those who haven't really committed so much into something, or those who are even in it already, to take a step back and think, why am I doing what I'm doing? And that also came up in your conversation with what you're helping women do right now, to be able to figure out, who am I really, and what do I like to do?
Yeah.
And I know there's a balance sometimes, in, maybe a day-to-day job and putting food on the table and all that, but it also speaks to the robustness of life, where we're not just tied to this job and this title, and we can look for opportunities to express our other gifts and talents outside of 9 to 5.
Yeah. So I totally agree with you, Dr. B, is that looking kind of at life from a broader perspective. And it's kind of like in relationships, right? One person is never going to fill all of your needs. And so there may not be you may not have the one career, the one job, the
Right.
one business that's going to fulfill all your needs. And so if you identify it as a need, so I have a strong creative desire to create.
Okay.
And so for fun, yeah, I'll make some jewelry. I will fire some glass art, right? And so even if I never do anything with it, I'll give it away. But it may not be a business, but it fulfills that desire for self-expression.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I know for you, when I hear you speak, I know it's also out of your journey and your experience, and you had like a pivotal moment in life where you had to step back and look at life a little differently. Can you share that with us today?
Sure. So 9/11 affected
Mm.
so many people. And I used to work in New York, and I would teach investment classes at Solomon Brothers
Okay.
and at Seven World Trade. And so my girlfriend and I worked there, and I looked at us going to the French Culinary Institute in New York just for fun, a 6-month
Okay.
program, full time. And so I opted to instead move to Colorado, and we stayed in touch, good friends. She ended up going and going to school at night, working during the day. And she got her degree. And so she was a vice president at a bank during the day. And then she'd work on the weekends and chef at a 5-star restaurant out in New Jersey. And so when 9/11 happened, my sister called me and said, turn on the TV. So I watched the towers come down. And I knew my friend Karen worked in New York, but I thought, she worked in Midtown. So I thought, well, let me give her a few days just to let it soak in. She might have lost some friends, a hugely traumatic event. So 5 days later, one evening, I called her house, and a woman picked up the phone. I didn't recognize her voice. And I said, hi, is Karen there? And there was a long pause. And she said, who is this? And I said, well, this is her friend Reina from Colorado. We worked together in New York. And another long pause. And she said, Karen's missing.
Oh, no.
And so in that moment, I thought, well, how can that be? And so I found out later that she wanted to stay, didn't take her trip to London. And so she decided to stay and be in town for her 4-year-old twins, a boy and a girl. And she wasn't supposed to be in town. And so she was in one of the towers. And so taking that in, obviously lots of tears and thinking about Karen. And I thought, you know what? What am I doing with my life right now?
Right.
My life feels like Groundhog Day, just repetitive. I felt asleep in my own life. And because every morning I would wake up, I'd let my dog out, feed the cat, feed the dog, let the dog in, make the coffee, get dressed, get ready, get in my car and drive down the highway. And I would actually change lanes within a same short stretch. So, and then I'd park in the same or similar spot and do my work. And then I would go home. In my life, I thought, what am I doing with my life? I'm not feeling alive. And so at that point, I decided to make a huge change. And for me, I love this. I keep it on my desk. I did an Etch-a-Sketch where I had been drawing and working, living, and I just went like this with my life. So I sold my house. I gave my pets away to very good friends and gave most of my stuff away. And so I went off and traveled around. I did a lot of things that were on my bucket list.
Right.
And I traveled around Europe by myself and with a small suitcase. And I came back and went to chef school in New York. I lived in Scotland for a little while. I did some other things that I had always wanted to do, but stopped. And so for me, it was a huge life shift because I had to really, it was the loss of Karen and her inspiration that I said, wow, I want to change my life and have more joy in my life because it's just too short. So, so her memory lives on, and I am thankful that she and our paths crossed. And so that really changed my life and my outlook. And I think I think we all have some fears, Dr. B, right? Of kind of shifting out of our comfort zone. And sometimes you just have to blow through your comfort zone. Sometimes the other thing I use is to make change in our lives. Sometimes it's more like this, where it's a Rubik's Cube and you're just changing a few things, right? But I needed an Etch-a-Sketch. So thank you for asking. And I hold Karen in my heart. And and that's what I want to help other people do. And that's what I do, is to help them. Who are they now? I mean, we talk, right? So women, you may live a life, you may or may not have kids, but you're living and you're working and you're living your life for a while. And then sometimes it might just hit you to say, wow, am I really happy? Exactly. Is this the life I want to live? The legacy that I want to start creating? Right. And also I think our values shift over time. And talk about the purpose. It's I think we all have a purpose. And if we can connect with who we really are and be honest with ourselves, sometimes brutally honest, and accept who we really are and love that self and be that person, then that will elevate our vibration and bring more joy into our lives and those of other people's lives we touch, right?
Right. Oh my, that is so heartwarming on many levels. Thank you for sharing that story and that journey. I'm sure it still feels so surreal, but glad you've used that as a, pivotal point and inspiration to make you take a step back and be that joy, Reina, that you were meant to be, and also transferring that energy and skills to other women around you. Many times our lives could just be that Groundhog Day and just going around doing the same routine things over and over without thinking about it. And before you know it, it's 5, 10, 20 years, and you're like, oh my God, what did I do with
Yeah.
my life? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we all have things that we like to do as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so I also ask people, I'm like, what dream did you give up on?
Hmm.
And for some of my clients, it's, gosh, I've always wanted to be a photographer.
Okay.
Okay, so how can you integrate that into your life right now? You may have to keep the 9 to 5 job, but how can you start integrating that? And so it really is allowing yourself to take a step back and get off that, the habit trail of just going through the motions of life, and really taking stock, right?
Right.
And stopping and taking stock.
Right. Wow, I love that. And for those of you who are not on YouTube, you might want to jump on YouTube to check this out. But I love, what you said about making little shifts. Because sometimes when we think about it, we're like, oh, am I going to leave my 9 to 5? Am I going to abandon my kids or my family? But it doesn't have to be so. It's just one little step that adds that little bit of extra joy and fulfillment to your life in the journey and path to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Right. Right. I love that.
I I didn't coin this phrase, but I use it. It's, what's your next inspired step?
Hmm.
And even if you can identify what it is, then you can start putting yourself into action. And so just that little step, you can say, wow, okay, I've got some momentum going. And so that next inspired step.
Yes. Beautiful. What's your next inspired step?
Yeah.
That's a good one. So, with your experience, and I know you've spoken to it a little bit, so what's the secret to living a fulfilling life at home, at work, and wherever we find ourselves?
Well, I think it's giving yourself permission. I think, I don't
Hmm.
know about you, Dr. B, but for a lot of people who I come across and work with, it's giving themselves permission to look at life differently, and to wonder and be curious about what could life look like if I were really truly happy. And
Wow.
and so it's giving ourselves permission. And so that, I mean, that really ties into some deeper things. It ties into, am I worthy? Do I deserve to live a super joyful, abundant life?
Right.
And so it taps into that. And so some of those old tapes, limiting beliefs that we may have accumulated over time, you may have to come to face those, right?
Right.
And so I think permission is number one. I think something else too is being able to take a look at, who are you surrounding yourself with?
Hmm.
Who are those people? Do they build you up? or is it safer for them to keep you in a box of the
Wow.
person who they've known for however long?
Hmm.
Because sometimes when we start going for our dreams, it can get a little bit lonely until we connect with our new people, right?
Right.
And so who are the people that we're surrounding ourselves with? And do they bring you energy, or do they take energy from you?
Hmm.
And some people, we have obviously family and whatnot. So I ask people to take a look and do an exercise
Okay.
and put themselves in. So on a piece of paper, draw a circle in the middle, and you are in the middle. So me.
Okay.
And then outwardly, in some bubbles around that circle, who are the people who are closest to you? So it could be family members, it could be close friends, it could also be colleagues, work colleagues. So
Okay.
who are those people who you end up interacting the most with? And then write their names in there. And then in the line going from you to them, is the energy going from you to them? Are they bringing you energy? Is it more equal? So it's more of a, it is subjective, but a little bit more analytical to take a look at the energy flow.
Okay.
Because people may have a sense of who they really enjoy spending time with and who they don't, and who drains them, who supports them. And so that's something that you can take a look at and say, oh gosh, I love this person, but we're not spending much time together. How can I spend more
Right.
time with that person?
Okay.
So that's a possibility. And I would say, so those are a couple things. And the French say this really well. And a Frenchman told me this. I love the French culture. And just for this particular statement, and he said, you know, the French people have a way of celebrating life's smaller moments.
Hmm.
And so it is tied to the permission, right? We all are in action and doing our lives. But if we can carve out some time daily to feed ourselves, and it can be a yoga class. Yes, it can be meditation, but it can be a pause just for a few minutes to start looking around and saying, wow, that is those cloud formations are beautiful. Or look at that tree, or spend some time with pets, right? And so I think it's allowing yourself to get mindful in the moment, to see what's already there. And so
Right.
joy is really allowing joy in, because it's
Wow.
there. And so that's my experience with joy.
Okay.
I think our culture really celebrates doing, activity,
Right.
accomplishment, right? Checking off the to-dos list, to-dos
Yes.
off of our task list, and that bolsters how we feel. But joy is really independent of that. And
Hmm.
joy is a way of being. It's not
Right.
a way of doing. I mean, you can
Right.
operationalize joy, right? But it starts with a mindset, and it starts from within. I always say joy is an inside job.
Wow. That is so beautiful. Getting away from the doing, because yeah, it's a lot of checklist and trying to achieve the next goal and not taking time to celebrate that. I love them. I love every one of them, giving ourselves permission. And what it just speaks back to me is many times it starts from within. It starts from the person. Sometimes maybe the person is not able to fully express or realize, and then they might need help from people. But at the end of the day, even the coaches, the therapists, the friends that are helping you in this journey, it still boils down to you realizing who you are, what you love to do, and giving yourself permission to embrace every aspect of it in life.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. And
Absolutely.
thanks for reminding us to celebrate the small moments, I see your puppy constantly
Yes,
coming to you to say, hey.
she is. She's saying, I'm gonna
I
sit under
know.
the mat here for a little bit.
Yeah. And I know right after the podcast, she'll probably go her own way doing the thing. But right at this moment, she wants to remind you that, okay, I'm here.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, yes. And I love the piece about mindfulness because in the, like you said, the doing and going aspect of life, taking those moments to pause and just feel what is going on around you, feel what is going on in your mind, and being strategic about putting elements in place that bring you joy and fulfillment is very critical.
Yeah. And the thing that I found too is the mindfulness, in my experience, there are a couple parts of it. One is, how do you kind of quiet the mind, right?
Mm,
Because our minds are always going with everything. We're hit with so much data at any
right,
given moment.
right.
But so how can we quiet the mind and get into our bodies so that we can get present? And a few things that I do, I'm huge into essential oils, and I have lots of essential oils that I use And they're good for different things, so lavender is always good for, it's like the Swiss Army knife of the essential oils, but frankincense, good for grounding. So even just accessing that just brings me present and into my body. So there are lots of different things like that, but that's one of the tools that I have at any given time. I've got multiple essential oils with me. So simple things.
Yes, that's beautiful. Well, Reina, it's been amazing having you on the guest chair today. And thanks for all the beautiful nuggets you've shared with us. I just want to give you a moment to provide us with any closing remarks, and then we'll share how our audience can stay connected with you.
Well, I would say that joy is accessible to anyone, and we control that. You control that, right? And so it's a choice, and you can choose joy. And if people around you aren't cool with that, then you need to find some new people. So, but it's so empowering just to step into it. Everybody deserves joy.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And how can we stay connected with you? And do you have any programs, resources that you like to share with our audience today?
Oh, thank you. Thanks for asking, Dr. B. I do. So my website is reinabach.com, and it's REINABACH.com. And I do have a free 1-hour webinar coming up on December 19th. Okay. And it's called Reassess, Recalibrate, Revive. And it's really to help kind of make it through the holidays in a very empowered way, because sometimes holidays can cause stress.
Right.
Whether we're shopping, we're making travel plans and whatnot. Spending time with family members can be good, can also be stressful. And then also like going into kind of transitioning into the next year, and really stepping into the power and helping create what you want to create in 2024. So, so if you go to my website, you'll see a link right on the homepage, and just ask to click the button, enter your email, your name, and then we'll send you a link. It's just going to be a Zoom 1-hour webinar on the 19th of December. So that's an invitation. So it's just to be of service and bring some joy.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for bringing joy to us. And we really appreciate having you on the show today.
Oh, Dr. B, thank you so much for who you are. You're amazing. I mean, you're just incredible. And what you do for people, I am so grateful. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you, ma'am. And we will be in touch.
Sounds good.
Be sure to subscribe so you'll be the first to be notified of every new episode. Leave a review and share this podcast with that elegant lady in your life. This is a space where we can come together to empower and inspire each other and live feeling elevated and enlightened. See you in the next episode.